So my topic is the get home bag. Okay? How many people work away from where they live? How far away?
Costco, Spanish Fork.
Spanish Fork. Okay. So this is geared for that kind of thing.
On a good day, it's an hour.
In a car.
This would be good to share with your children because the younger ones would really need it too.
Yeah.
Well, how many of you visit family outside of your home?
Yeah, either, if you're gone, period, right?
It is. So I designed this get home bag, and I just pulled it out of my pickup. I have not touched this for about 6 years.
Oh, boy.
And it was designed for Washington State. Okay?
Western Washington.
Yeah, yep,
The rainy area.
The rainy
No,
area.
no, the dry
Oh, the dry
area,
area.
western.
right. I was working for American Airlines at the time, and I had to drive about 30 miles. And it's different there. You have huge freeways and all that kind of crazy stuff. But one of the things that gunned me up to do this is I'm driving home. I had the midnight shift. I'm driving home in the morning, and I see in the pavement of the freeway 2 half ice cream cones. They're about 40 feet long and probably about 2.5 feet high, and they're rolling along the freeway. And I bump over them, and I'm like, is that actually an earthquake I just saw? So I turn the radio on. Guess what? It was an earthquake I just saw.
Wow.
And I had never seen something like that with pavement actually rolling. And like I said, it looked like a half ice cream cone. The pointy end went down into the ground, and the bigger end was out towards the shoulder. But as I went over it, the whole truck went like that. And called my brothers. This is not long after we'd moved there. Called my brothers, and they were like, yeah, it happens all the time. Who cares? Anyway, the thing I had with this bag was also a gas-powered scooter. And I could get on that scooter. I had it had a tank of gas, which I'd change out about every 6 months. And then I had a little container for gas. And I figured it out. How long will it take me to get that 30 miles wearing this backpack? The problem there is when stuff goes down, the freeways get clogged, shut down completely. Hours, sometimes all day. So therein lies your issue. Okay, I'm opening this up.
Even has your name on it, I'm impressed.
So we're gonna see what I thought was important 6 years ago, okay? All right,
How much does it weigh?
well, if you're curious,
Yeah.
Come up
let her-
here.
let her
What would you
try it
guess?
on.
come up here and lift it up.
Would you say
I'd say it's probably about
15?
35 to 45 pounds.
Really?
Not real heavy,
In
But-
that small bag, yeah, that much?
it's fairly heavy. You tell me, Max.
Wow. All right.
Lift it up, see what you think.
I couldn't do 35, well, I don't know. That's
30 then?
I'd say, I don't know, maybe in 20, we'll have to weigh yourself and then put that on and weigh yourself again and we'll know, so. I'm just curious.
Okay, so we'll start at the side pocket here. All right, got us a little hatchet here. This happens to be a Fisker brand one. I've had good luck with them, so there we go. All right. I have tested almost all this gear. Who knows what this is?
Sleeping bag?
Baby bag.
Sleeping bag.
Sleeping bag. Correct. Okay, it's a sleeping bag. This is an M. Okay.
Emergency.
For Margaret there. All right. Oh, look, we've got another one. This is mine. They don't always fit back in the bag as well. I actually tried this out. Had a friend, and we would do what he called test and tunes, and we go up to a wilderness area in the mountains, over the mountains. And I tried this out at 29 degrees. Froze my cajones off bad. So then I tried layering up each night. And on the third night, I finally got it right with a sleeping bag liner, this on the inside. So this, they say this will save your life in an emergency. pretty iffy, okay? Pretty iffy.
Now that one I think breathes better, but I don't think that's a Mylar issue.
How are they different?
Well, he's right. One has silver Mylar on the inside, and actually is made with like Dacron, which breathes easier, but it's also plastic. Okay. Well, the other one is too, but anyway. So, yeah, they're trying to capitalize on the name SOLAS, Safety with Life at Sea, with this SOL. Those are ones that are actually the better quality, SOLAS stuff. Okay? All right,
I thought SOL meant something different.
it can.
Sorry, out of luck.
Okay, here we have some water bottles. All right. Here we have some, ooh, yeah.
MRE entree.
Okay, a couple of MRE entrees.
You know what MRE means, right? Meals
Everybody know
rejected
what
by
that is?
Ethiopians. No, yeah.
Okay, here we have a Seychelles bottle. Who uses these?
What is it?
Seychelles filter bottle.
Oh,
Anybody know who uses these? The church for all missionaries.
do they work?
I
Do
think
they
they've
work?
pulled back.
Well, it's still on their website.
Sure?
Yep, yeah, I checked it the other day.
And are they actually work?
They do, but they're not the best. I'm cautious with it. Okay, if you have clear running water, yeah. You know, if you're scooping it out of a mud puddle with alligators in it, not so much.
You
Okay.
can get them a lot, if they are available at the Bishop Storehouse or whatever, they're a fraction of the cost of retail, so.
They are.
Go through there and get 'em.
And any questions, stop me at any time. Max,
Those are water purification tablets. No, those are TBA, thyroid blocking agent.
yep,
And what?
explain that so slowly so people can hear.
TBA is, I just want to say, no. TBA stands for thyroid blocking agent. It's a form of iodine that's readily absorbable by the body because the thyroid uses a lot of iodine, but in a nuclear or radiological event, the radiological particles resemble or become radioactive. And if your body absorbs those radioactive iodine particles, they'll sit there and they'll irradiate from within, and you'll probably end up with thyroid cancer. A lot of they had like at Chernobyl, they had maybe 6 or 7 cases of thyroid cancer. After Chernobyl, they had like 400 and something. These are in kids because it got into the environment. The cows ate that. They got into the milk into the kids, and they ended up having a lot of problems. So this helps to pack it so it's chock full, and it says no room in the end. You radioactive stuff, you're just gonna have to leave and go out and be eliminated rather than stay and park and irradiate from
So
within.
your body would absorb this instead of the radioactive item?
Yeah, and it'll pack it so that it can't get any more. It's like no room in the inn, leave, go away.
Do you take one a day?
I think that's what they're designed for.
Yeah. And so if you're over what age?
I'm not sure.
55, okay, or older, they say don't even worry about taking these. You're not going to live long enough for it to have an effect. That's actually what they say.
Oh,
Go home now?
in the what was it, the Japanese, what's the?
Hiroshima?
No, the radioactive, Fukushima. They had elderly people volunteer to go in for a short amount of time, clean up, do their thing, and then go out, because by the time they developed cancer, they would have died by old age, usually, so.
So that's kind of the same idea here, all right, with those pills.
If you go to TACTA.org, TACTA means the American Civil Defense Association. I've been a member of it for 30-something years. They have a source of iodine tablets that you can get in a bottle, and you make a donation, you get it there cheaply, and it'll help you.
Okay, moving on. We have my mini stove. Okay. Get it out of here.
That's just the fuel.
That's just the fuel. Here's
Yeah.
the stove.
It's amazingly small.
All right. I have actually tried it, cooked on it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 meals. Works good. Okay. Gotta have some way to heat
Does
that up.
that screw onto the can?
It does. It screws right on the top here.
That's nifty.
Okay. They make an even better version of this forget what this was called. The company is MSR anyway, good company.
Yeah.
And I forget, was this called the Firefly? See?
A lot of stuff comes
Long
out
time.
every year at the outdoor expos.
This is tinder. I'm not gonna open it because I sealed it with tape, but this is tinder. I remember that. All right. Knife sharpener. I have one that I use all the time. This one works reasonably well. I wouldn't say it's great, but reasonably well. And it's simple. It's got a coarse and a fine side. Of course, we gotta have matches. Okay. And these are hurricane-proof.
Yeah,
Hurricane-proof.
storm matches.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're hurricane-proof type, but
But they have the long burn. on
yeah,
them.
they have the long burn on them, and they won't go out in rain.
Yeah,
or
you dip it
something
in
like
water
that.
and bring it out and they'll still be
It'll
burning.
still keep going. Hence the Washington State idea.
Oh, and on the bottom, show the bottom. Look
There's
on
a
the
s-
bottom, that's a mini ferrule rod, so you could actually scrape that with a knife blade and get sparks.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's not a big sample and you'd have to be, but it's.
try it. After trying it, which I could never get it to work to light a fire, I went ahead and bought a
Yeah,
rod about that long.
oh yeah.
Okay, much better, much better. Okay, and of course we have our little Bic lighters, okay? And I found these things will actually sit on the shelf, oh, I don't know, 15 years. I've used them at 15 years.
Will it still start?
Yeah, and still,
Let's see.
I'd say half the fuel's in there still.
The cool thing is, you can actually start a fire even if all the butane is gone.
really? Fire and
You,
water.
You can
you
use
very carefully scrape a little of the dust. Well, first of all, you take a knife and you just scrape little tiny little plastic shavings off the case, and then you can very slowly grind back and forth a little of that ferro rod powder will come down in it and kind of cover those little shavings, and then you can flick it, and you'll have a little pile of burning plastic that will be enough to hopefully get some other stuff started. So
Have you actually tried that?
yeah.
Okay,
And you can, even if you get down low, you can cut this off, melt a little hole in it, pack it with a cotton ball with Vaseline in it in the little hole, and you could put that in your kit or on a ring. Some people even have little dog tags, so it'll still work. Don't throw them away.
right?
But it has to
Okay.
be the flick kind. It can't be the clicker kind.
No. All right, so here we go. Here's a rod. These work really well. They're big enough that you get a long burst of spark onto whatever tinder you're trying to light up. Those little bitty ones, the Boy Scout ones, I bet I own half a dozen of those. And nah, they don't work. So you want something like this. Amazon.
And if you put the knife down and pull the rod away, it'll still shower sparks on, but if you try to scrape the knife into your tinder, you'll overshoot it and knock your tinder pile over, so.
Okay, here we go. The classic spork. All right, I love these things. I only take, whenever I camp, did Boy Scouts forever. Whenever I camp, I just use a spork and a bowl. That's it. Okay, I always have my pocket knife for a knife if you need something sharp.
They do kind of have a little serrated edge. So you
They
can
do.
Kind of cut it.
Kind of works a little bit, something soft. But anyway, okay, there we go. Let's get back to this side. More water. Cheap space blanket, okay. Insulated. It's actually got pockets of like bubble wrap kind of in there between the Mylar. This one and this one I've experimented with. This one I never have. So these two things I've experimented with, not that one. Like I said, I froze to death. Okay? A wad of plastic bags. Why would you want these? Name one thing that one of these big plastic bags is good for. Poncho.
A mattress, you can fill it with leaves and insulate underneath you so you're not lying on the cold ground.
Excellent. What else?
Throw away things.
What is it?
Throw away things.
Garbage. Okay.
You can carry water.
Water. Right on. Okay.
Diane Thomas of Roughin' It Easy fame back in the
Yeah.
day, she would dig 2 holes and line the plastic bag down in there and put hot water in one hole, cold water in another. She had a regular kitchen sink when she would wash it.
I love her.
She's-
Okay. Small tarp. Why would I have this? Washington State for one thing.
Under or over.
Put it on the ground.
Right, it can be a ground cloth or it can be a tent. All right. And I don't know where I put it either, but I had, maybe it's not in here. I have about 100 feet of paracord.
There you go.
Okay, you really need that kind of thing so you can get out of the weather.
Does it have grommets?
It does. This is just a cheap Walmart job. You know, it's been in here for, I'm not even sure this is new, but it's been
But
in
it has
here.
the grommets?
It does have grommets.
If one tears out, what you can do is you can take a rock and put it under that ripped up corner and wrap it around like a lollipop and then tie your paracord around that rock
A stick,
and
a rock,
and anchor it.
whatever works really good like that.
Make your own tent
Okay.
pegs.
I have found what's better than these though is the Dacron tarps. Much better, much longer lived. A lot of times the grommets are closer together and they don't rip out as easy. Dacron tarps. Yeah, you
That's
can-
the key word we look for?
That is the key word. Why Dacron versus nylon? Anybody know? Go ahead. Yay.
Ultraviolet.
What's that?
It doesn't deteriorate in ultraviolet light.
That's the key. That's what they make sailboat sails out of now.
Really?
Well, the white ones.
Nylon actually sun rots.
Yep. Nylon will sun rot. Dacron will last probably 4 or 5 times as long.
Are they translucent? Will they let light through?
Not so much. No.
Okay.
No, and you can get them in different colors. So, darker. Oh, here's another thing. Darker colors last longer in the UV than lighter colors.
Really?
Yeah, lighter colors rot out faster.
Hmm.
And it has to do with, I read this one time, it has something to do with the UV and the carbon black in darker colors used to give that dark color. So if you got deep purples, you got black, whatever, deep blues, those last the best. Yes,
Most of these cheap tarps are not UV safe. So if you're using it as a sun shelter, you're going to get fried.
it's a good point right there. Okay, so on your chart here, they had, I didn't print that part out, but the definition of a get home bag is 48 hours or less. Okay, that's the design of the bag, in their opinion. All right, now, oh, and I didn't show you this. Whole bunch more. Okay, whole bunch more food. And
Are they good for 20 years?
what's that?
Are they good for 20 years?
No, not so much. They're actually good for about 4 to 5, and then you can stretch it maybe another 4 to 5 in the right conditions. I've eaten some that were 15 years old. Yeah, not so good. So they didn't poison you, but the taste was horrible.
A lot of it depends on the temperature you store it in. If you store it in a freezer at 0 and it's not manhandled, it might go 10 years. But if you store it under your seat in a car, 3 months. I gave
Yeah.
one to
Yeah, I guess
to my
so.
nephew once after a hunting trip, and he came back and says, "Uncle Max, the only thing edible in that was the chiclets," you know?
And that's true. Yes, Ken.
Where are your walking shoes or hiking boots?
So I always wear these boots right here, unless it's Sunday. Then I do have some Sunday shoes. But I almost always wear these boots right here. So when I was working, employing this idea, I always had that. I also had my work clothes on. I also had my American Airlines jacket, which was very similar to Max's jacket here. Comes down to the knees, it's all waterproof, it's insulated, so you can take that on or off. That was all part of the whole gimmick there. Like I said, I lived 30 miles away. There was only one steep climb to get up on top of these heights where I had to go to. Anyway, other than that, there we go. So, you have to, that sounds terrible. That's bad communication.
It would benefit you too.
Right. It benefits you to adjust it to your area, all right? This is not gonna be necessarily good for Spring City in the wintertime. Now, the thing nowadays, things always evolve, is that you have add-ons to your pack or whatever you're using. And that might be a winter add-on or a summer add-on. Or perhaps you have more water for Spring City in the summer, and that's an add-on. And so you might pin it on these straps here. You might make up a thing that holds like 6 bottles of water, okay? Or you might have, for wintertime, you might have some yak wool socks, which is the best sock you can get, 4 times better than wool. Okay, so you might have that or gloves in that. You might have some kind of long johns, something of that nature. Okay, and you can swap it out then between summer, winter.
Do you have any candles in there by chance?
No, I'm not a candle kind of guy, so that's me though.
Well, I found that some people have taken a candle and they wrap themselves up in their space blanket. They're out of the wind, of course. They leave a little space underneath so it can get oxygen, but the heat rises up and gets under that space blanket and it can really, really warm you up.
And you can make a teepee. I've seen people, you make a teepee out of this tarp. Okay, you get under a tree that is shielded enough that you don't have snow under it. It's not all wet, all that kind of thing. And you can take a tie wrap the top of this up, then you make your little teepee. Put your gear in there with you, get in there. In that situation, a candle would probably help. So
Cool.
I'm probably going to go to this type of thing for my get home bag and maybe my bug out bag. I haven't decided yet. You can get, this is just an old one that we have. The wheels aren't particularly large, all right? So they make this though as a pack also with large wheels that you can get. Anywhere from about $80 up to whatever you want to spend for it. Now, why would you want it as a pack also?
You mean to carry?
Right, like a backpack. They make it with straps like a backpack.
Because it's a rough road,
Cross country,
Go,
if it's a rough trail.
rough trail,
Speed.
cross country, yeah.
speed. How about if I come to a stream and I'm just rolling this guy along, right? I might want to throw it on my back so it doesn't get all wet, okay? So, yeah, I'm thinking down that vein now of making, as I get older, I hate to admit it, I can't carry as much and go as long, all right? And this is kind of a in-betweener right here, so.
Now, do you have a knife as part of your everyday carry, so you
Yeah.
have a knife as well?
So everyday carry, always have, well, actually I have 2. I also have my Swiss Army pocket knife over here. Speaking of everyday carry, a lot of people will put my friend I told you about that did the test and tune, he always had his breakdown Ruger 22 rifle in his kit, okay? I just do my everyday carry, so it's always with me anyway. So, okay,
Very cool.
there we go.
Okay,
I will leave this out if you want to look at it afterwards and then put it up.
I can tell you right now, I have never been a Boy Scout. And I want a Boy Scout with me when we get in trouble. Because the knowledge of all this is just amazing. That was impressive. I appreciate that. Our kids, they've had carry-on things and then they start packing their car with something to go skiing or something and they take them out because there's not enough room. And then they put them back and take them out. So, and I've been doing 72-hour packs for my entire married life. And I know why some people just don't want to do them anymore. You just get like, well, will I ever use this? You know, and one year for Christmas, I did a pack for each grandchild and had it totally finished, hung in their garages. I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever use them, but if you do need them, you'll be awfully glad. So, anyway,
Well, we don't use our fire extinguishers or our trauma kits, and we're happy to not use them, so.
exactly.
But when you need it, you really need it.
Exactly. So basically what I did when I did the 72-hour kits for our children is they always grow out of their clothes and medication needs to be re-upped all the time. So I just developed a system where I put everything in bags And, if anybody is going to put together kits, I've got a
Like
copy of this.
Ziploc bags.
Ziploc bags, and some of them are the large Ziploc bags. This way, you don't have to address everything in the bag. You just pull out the bag with your clothes, get some clothes that fit them, stick it back in, and all the bags can just stay, other than your medication bag. There's this bag I labeled tools. It's just got, something to read, and a whistle, and a flashlight, and, you know, multi-functioning tools, stuff like that. Hygiene kit that has toothbrush, toothpaste, wet wipes, you know, some toilet paper, that type of thing. This one is shelter. It has a good heavy space blanket, you know, just things you might need for shelter. Also in everybody's thing, I have a roll of Visqueen that you could either put under you.
Flashlight turned on. The flashlight turned on.
In the back.
Oh, I'm glad that still works.
You may wanna put something that'll protect that from accidentally being turned on.
That's a good.
And is that a
idea.
wind up?
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of those, I just happen to have them, so, and I put together so many of these. And then I tried to get a wool blanket and rolled it up, because wool will keep you warm even when it's wet. So, Visqueen, a wool blanket, the larger bag for clothes, and there's a poncho and underwear, whatever they need, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and sweatpants. Cause that will just kind of do the trick no matter what, and if it's hot outside, you can, you know, shorten something or whatever. So for us, for Craig, this one's his pack, we don't have to really address this. We'll just keep those clothes like that, and there's a pair of shoes down in there. So instead of throwing away old sneakers, and I told my kids, when you get ready to get rid of some of your kids' clothes, let me know, cause they might be good for one of the grandkids in their pack. Instead of just getting rid of them, let's use those.
Turn over the
So-
light.
What's that?
Turn over the light.
Oh my gosh.
You're gonna have to turn it around or something.
Okay, I gotta address that, don't I? Make that so it's.
On the sweats, try to get the synthetic, because cotton absorbs and gets you cold fast and doesn't. And also make sure it has a hood, because that's extra protection to keep your head warm and
Yeah,
and,
good idea. Very
you
good
can
idea.
get them really big and they'll bunch up on their legs, so they'll be so oversized, but it doesn't matter. And even if you forget about it and 2 years later, they're coming up halfway up the shin, because they've grown so much, it still works. So you can have
Yes.
a longer time before you have to change them out.
Yeah.
And by then, it's probably the right size for the next kid down.
Exactly, yeah, that's a good type of clothing to have. In here, we've got, okay, I was impressed with this Sawyer, water purifier. I think this one you can put this on a bottle, like one of these.
Yeah.
It'll screw on your basic bottle like this. And where I saw this there was a little store across from, Sugar House Park. And you know that pond at Sugar House, I don't know if you've ever seen that, it's just so gross. It's got the ducks in there and it's just brown water. She had taken her water bottle, scooped it out of that pond, and she screwed this on the top of it and she was drinking the water. And she was fine. So I thought those were pretty handy to have, so you can scoop water out of a creek or something like that.
If you can take a handkerchief or a t-shirt and strain out most of it, it'll lengthen the life, but you have to be super careful not to let them freeze, because they're made of these tiny little tubes that kind of like they use in dialysis, but if they freeze, it rupture and then it won't work anymore, so
Yeah.
don't let them freeze.
What brand, is that a Sawyer?
Yeah, Sawyer.
Yeah, okay.
And this comes with a bag, a roll-up bag that you can screw this onto, so you can fill the bag with water and put that on it. But I really like these that you can get from the church. We put these in the car, to always have these in the car. And I think those will do in a pinch too. So that's what we've got in there. In here, I think we have, just a good flashlight. It's one of those journeys that we just ordered a while back. And then also there's this one. I just like having lots of backups for water, so we have one of those from the church too. So that's basically what we have in this.
And that's a filter also?
Yeah, this is what you can buy from the church distribution. Or the,
The filter is attached to the lid, so you can open it up, scoop it up, and then. put the
and then
lid.
drink it from there.
try to keep it clean. 'Cause
Our
it-
son used those for 2 years on his mission in southern Mexico, and he said they worked really good. They never got sick from the water.
And they're very inexpensive, so just, these would be great just to have all around, all over the place. Okay,
Can you get
so,
water out of those if you're trying to put water in a pot? You're not trying to just.
You can squeeze the purified water into a container if you need to.
yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what we have here, and then
Hold it-
also,
Hold it, the bag.
what's that?
Tell them where we got the bag.
I think this was my dad's.
Oh, is it?
This is an old Kelty. Yep, I think so. Anyway, I usually just get them like at a secondhand store. I try to get a frame pack, cause that supports, you know, if you're carrying it. And then I have the food in this. I could not fit everything in that, but I wanted a good wool blanket. This isn't just a little from the car. It had to work for 3 days. And I just got Mountain House meals. They have a 25-year shelf life. And you get your water boiling and you just zip this open, dump the water in there, and you eat it out of the bag. So, because seriously, every time we redo our bags for all the kids, all the time, there were weevil, the food had gone bad, even Jolly Ranchers went gooey. You'd think, oh, those will last forever. Well, they go gooey. So anyway, I finally just thought, I am just gonna put these, and we put these in the closet by the back door. And so you can grab that, and you can grab your water, and you're good to go. So that's how I did those. Oh, and then there's this, I put in this can the things that you need to make the little fire. And you can use this to boil your water in, and it makes it a good container. You can go down to a creek and gather water. It's just a really great container. And then, and see, I like your stove. That's definitely a Boy Scout thing. I just have this thing with wax. So anyway, this is what you'd need to heat your water, and it has your utensils in there. So, but the thing that I like about this particular method is each of these topics, you cut this apart and you put that list in the bag. And it's so much easier when you go to update them. And then, so I have the one is for each person, and you've got their name, so their name's on each bag. And then you've got the family one. And I have another duffel that just has things like tools, like a hammer and screwdrivers and that type of thing. Some cash, you know. Anyway, you can see what those are, and those go in smaller bags. And so these are all cut apart, they're all put on the bag, you can see exactly what you have. If you have to re-up anything, you don't have to go through the whole mess. You just grab that bag and know that that needs to be a little more current, you know. So that was, for me, saved the system, is having these. And then first aid supplies are very important, that's in the family bag. I didn't put a whole slew of first aid. I have like in the hygiene, I have some Band-Aids and things like that. But more first aid supplies, and that's in the family kit. So anyway, I've got, if anybody wants to do this method, I've got some of those copies if you want to come and get one of those after. So, okay. Now, as far as grab and go, that's your other list here. So I sat down and I took all the grab and go lists that I could find in my file, and I just did a basic list, and this is in order of what to grab first. So I put people, because we had 2 caboose kids. I was always terrified. 12-year-old, after our baby was 12, we had a caboose. And I was always afraid I was gonna leave the child somewhere, because I just wasn't used to that child. I'm not kidding. And so you just, or you might have someone living in your basement, or I don't know. You just think of the people first. Who do I need to take care of really quick? And then you just go down, the keys to your car, your personal wallet, your cell phone. You might be able to get cell phone service, it just depends on the situation, but you definitely want your cell phone if you can. So I just kind of did in order of importance. And then I walked through my house this week, and I just went through every room, and I thought, because you know when you're in a panic, your house is on fire or something and you have to get out. And sometimes you just can't think. And so you got to think ahead of time. So you kind of know what you want to do. And we were at Jane's
Tell
today.
that one.
And we kind of went, and she has all these history books. And if she had time, she'd throw those in her car. And she knows right where those are.
Personal.
Personal history books. Right.
Yeah, not England, not France.
Right. So I just walked through the house and I thought, if this house was going to burn, what do I absolutely have to take with me? And there really wasn't much. It was basically personal history stuff that I wanted to take. There was one painting that burned, oh well. But you know, there's just not much I really needed to take. But you want to think it through ahead of time. Your hard drive for your computer. You know, your computer. I would want my personal scriptures. That would bring me a lot of comfort. Photos, maybe some heirlooms. And this is just dependent on how much time you have. And on the other side of that, it has, if you have 5 minutes, ideas that you might take, if you have 10 minutes, and if you have 15 minutes. And so, and then the more time you have and the bigger your vehicle, you can just take stuff out because you might never go back. And you might lose all those things. Okay, so one of the really important things that I'm just going to talk a little bit about is this. Probably 25 years ago, I did this important papers binder for our ward. Either ward or state. I think it was our ward. And we put them together in Relief Society. And this has been used so much, and I have had so many people call me and say, I am so glad I have that. Every time one of my kids needs their passport or a birth certificate or their social security card, it's in the page with their name on it, and it's just tucked in there. You sell a car, you know where the title is. I mean, everything that you need that's an important paper, it just goes in this binder. Your will. It's really pretty good. And so I took all kinds of books that I'd seen. This was 25 years ago. And I took all the nuggets of all of them. And I thought, this is in a nutshell. This would do the trick. And this is also really great if a spouse dies. You know, you've got all of your passcodes, how to open the safe, what financial institutions, account numbers. I mean, just things that you might need that you just assume your husband or something is going to just be around forever, and you don't ask a lot of these things. And I think this is probably my best thing to tell you about tonight, is to have this stuff, sit down and talk about it and write down. And it has, the sections in here are emergency. Oh, let's see, I think I gave you that. The important papers binder. That is pretty much a list of what's in here. Emergency information, one thing that we put with the kids' kits, and I tell them to put it in their phones or in their car. And I don't know if this really works. There's so many communication specialists here. But I was told that you want an out-of-state contact. So we have Craig's aunt and uncle that live in Idaho. I asked them if they would be our family's out-of-state contact. So you could, if you could get a way to call out of state where you couldn't locally, you could leave your message with them and you could communicate through that person. I've never tried it. I don't know if, I've never lived through an emergency like that, but I've heard that that's a good idea. So I just did their name and phone number and everything and made a bunch of them and gave them to all the grandkids. I said, put this somewhere, put it in your car, put it in your phone, put it somewhere. So you know who to call so we can somehow find out where you are, how you're doing. So I thought that was pretty important. And there's one of those in, I have this little space right here that says emergency contact, and I had typed the information on that. So that is in every bag, every kit of each of the kids. So anyway, so and this is gonna jog my memory as I look at this. Okay,
Does it have a table of contents in there?
There's not a table of contents, but this pretty much is kind of a table of contents. Yeah.
Where do you keep that book? Is it just a single book?
It's just like this, and I keep it in the safe.
Okay.
It's a little more bulging because we've got this one has a master copy of all these things in it when we did it before. But I've got our will, and some of them are stuffed with titles to cars and the kids' information and all that stuff.
So this
and
is
there's
just an
immunization
example.
record I have in there.
This is an example, a blank example.
This is a blank example of the book. and I just dug this out of my closet, and this was the.
But you did
master of it.
that sort of thing in Relief Society, you put them together and then. the
Yes, and
person
so many
took 'em
people
home.
have just, you search for some of these documents before you're in a panic, and you know right where you're gonna put them. Yes,
My kids used to call me and say, when's the last time I had a tetanus shot?
yes.
And I had a list and I could tell them,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
did they need another one or not?
There's an immunization, there's an immunization chart in here. In an emergency, and we created a family plan, if there is a disaster, our family will meet at this place. If you cannot enter the neighborhood, then you meet at this place. If you're unable to communicate with each other, you contact, and there's the number of our person. And so you have your backup plans, where you're gonna meet, and this is when we had all these kids at home. Now we don't have them at home, and this isn't as big of a worry to me, but they need to do this with their own families, so that would be good. And then, you've got your doctors. I don't know, it's just a great place to put all those things, where the location of your 72-hour kits. It's got a great disaster checklist, and if somebody wants to, Jane and I were talking about if we wanted to do this as a project, meeting sometime in the future, we could get orders, I could make copies and get the books, and then everybody could put them together, and you could have them that way.
Yeah,
So,
we could give them an estimated cost and
That'd be great.
I think that would be a super helpful workshop to do.
how many of you would like to do something like that?
Okay.
Oh, so it looks like it might be a worthwhile project.
I think so, I think that would be a really good one.
And you can also get little thumb drives, so before you put it in the sleeve, the actual document, you can take a picture of it and then have that on a thumb drive backup as well.
That you keep somewhere else.
Yeah.
In case your house burns down, you've got that somewhere else. Oh, yes, and in here also is an inventory of your house where you just
Oh, yeah.
take pictures, put it on a thumb drive, and then you document the furniture you have and stuff like that.
So the Californians, even though their fire insurance was negated before the fires, if they hadn't had that negated, and if those people had something like this, they could prove they had this or that.
Right,
And they don't have anything.
right. That is so important when you get in that situation. to
Is
have
yours
that
safe,
proof.
fireproof?
Yes, it's a fireproof safe, but I don't know like how intensive a fire it would handle, but it is fireproof.
30 minutes is typical, 1,500 degrees.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What
Well,
was the question?
How, if my
If the
safe
safe
is
is
fireproof,
Safe.
May not have a smoke seal or water seal, so if gets smoke, everything will be damaged by smoke, and if it's put out by the fire department, it may be water damaged. And if it's over 30 minutes,
it keeps your things pretty
anybody's guess, it's
secure.
basically just a 10 gauge piece of sheet metal,
Mhm.
and 2 to 4 layers of sheetrock is all they are.
Okay, well, it's better than not.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah,
If-
but it's
if
good to know that it's not
It's not
indispensable.
fireproof,
Right,
it's fire resistant
okay, good to
for
know.
a period of time.
So you take that with you, not leave it in your safe.
Yeah, so what you do is you'd wanna take the contents of your safe and just take it with you. So, also in here, you've got utility locations, and you take this book when you have kids living at home. And you say, where's the water turn off for the house? You know, you get a pipes that's from, they've gotta know exactly where that water turn off is, how to turn off the gas if you have to. You know, just all the turn offs for the utilities you have in here. All your financial information, your bank numbers, I think your passwords, super important for your kids. So that they can get into your computer and get the information that they might need if something happens to you. This is just good if, not just in an emergency, but if you lose someone. Loan information, tax information that you might need. Auto, usually the title will say the VIN number and all the make and stuff of your car, so if you have just the title in there, that'll give you all the information. And I'm not sure if a title will say your license plate number, but we put your license number is what we usually put on that. anyway, all of the insurances, and then the will. So, it's worth taking the time to do that, and just put it in a good, secure place. And I remember when my dad, I was kind of his caretaker the last part of his life, and every time I'd go to his house, he'd say, now you know where the blue binder is? Yes, I do. And you know where the safe, the come up to the safe is? Yes, I do. Every time I go, he'd ask if I knew that. Because once he's gone, I'm the one that's gotta retrieve things and get in there and look at all of his information. He had it all in a little book. It was much more condensed for just him, but anyway, so that was really helpful. So, anyway, any ideas, questions, things yes?
Would it be good to have a duplicate book like that in another place?
Like a kid's house or
Well,
something?
either with a family member who lives away from you.
I think that's a really, really good idea, And I would probably take pictures of every page, put it on a thumb drive, and give it to a couple of kids. So it's in a couple of different locations. That would be a really smart idea. Yes?
Now, this is just a comment about having a will versus a trust. We have a member in our ward that whose son has died, did not have a trust, he had a will, everything's in probate. And he had investment properties and stuff, everything goes through the courts, it's all public and everything. So, I'm not an attorney or anything, I'm not, this isn't, I'm just saying, I would recommend if you can, get yourself a trust.
I think that's a good idea. Our son's a lawyer, and he did that for us.
So what's the difference between a trust and a will?
Irrevocable living trust, you would have your family members, so that when something happens, my mother passed away 3 years ago, she had a trust, no probate, everything went to the family.
Yeah, same with my parents.
The government was completely on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Everything.
I'm glad you brought that up.
You're a trustee of the trust, or,
And it passes directly to the beneficiaries without
right.
inheritance tax and things like that.
You
Yeah.
can put all kinds of information, or who gets what type of thing, cause,
It's
like I
worth
say,
doing,
but-
yeah.
No, I get the piano, the type of thing, so.
It's not just for the belongings, it can also specify your wishes for your health care.
Right.
And who's going to be the one who speaks for you in case you can't.
DNR.
Yep.
And it can also, just specify who's gonna take your children. And that, so the trust takes care of all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's so worth taking care of that.
It also specifies if anybody wants to fight over it, they get $1, and the rest of it's divided equally.
Good rule.
It works wonders,
That's great.
because there's always one
Mm-hmm.
that feels ill-treated and wants to fight. And when there is no fight to be had, there is no fight. So they're welcome to fight, but it is your wish that if they create a fight, they just gave everything to everybody else and they get $1.
It's a good way to do
And
it.
that was the advice of one of the leading trust attorneys in the state of Utah that taught most of the judges.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Yeah,
We've,
great. Sorry, go ahead.
we've got one son that we stipulated he had to have a drug test before he got anything.
Good idea too.
And, if he's not clean, he doesn't get anything.
Yeah, every family has their different ways of dealing with it for sure. Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, two things. One, on a USB drive, that has to be wiped clean and then the info reinstalled at least every 10 years.
Oh.
It
That's
degrades
good to
over
know.
time, cause it actually holds it in electrons in there, and they
Mhm.
degrade over time.
Okay, every 10 years you do a
Yeah.
fresh one.
So you have to wipe
Yeah.
it clean somehow and then redo.
Right, right.
But you
If
can
you're gonna
use the same one. Okay, good.
They're so cheap though, buy a new one, but
Right.
anyway,
Right.
besides that, there is a guy in this area, he works for, he works for the funeral home, but he gives a thing on trusts and wills.
Oh.
If people are interested in that, that's another class we could do.
That would be really good.
So-
That kind of stuff's
Can
important.
we have a show of hands who'd be interested in doing that one?
Mhm.
Okay,
That would be excellent.
We'll check
That would
it
be
out.
really good.
Couple
Yes.
things. One, I heard this once and I really liked it. There was if you can't, if your family's not with you when you have to go and the grid's not working at the time, they had a cache in their property, like at the northwest corner or something like that, or the corner of the house or something, that they could dig into. You would leave notes in there, so no matter when you got there, when knows to go there, retrieve notes and pass on, okay, I went to Aunt Sally's, you know, or this, that's, you know, look for us there, or we'll be looking for it, waiting for you. And that way,
That's
there's
great.
another place you could go that only the family knows about.
Yes.
And then
Really
on
good
the,
idea.
your flashlight, if you have regular flashlight, have, spare batteries, not alkalines. The lithium, Energizer lithium, they tend to store better, longer, and they work better in the extremes of hot and cold. Some people have them for emergencies, but then when it gets really cold, then the chemistry that creates the electrical current stops, you know, slowing down, and that's why a lot of people store their batteries in the fridge and stuff like that, or freezer. But and I would suggest maybe having a list of all the things that you need to replenish on a regular basis, like medications, batteries, and things like that. And then you can program your phone to, even if it's only annually, you can do it monthly or annually or whatever, every 6 months, or, and then your phone's gonna pop up if everything's fine. It's gonna say, restock the, you know, stuff in your,
Yeah.
oh, that's right.
And
yeah,
you
that's-
put it in a place that's just an easy grab place, you don't have to go and revamp the whole thing, you just grab that one bag, replenish it. I do have extra batteries. But I usually go with general conference, October general conference.
Yeah.
That's the time you just kind of, is everything in good shape? So you kind of replace things in, yes.
2 thoughts on your
Yes.
fireproof safe.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, they are not fireproof. The next best thing is to go get a small safe, a small fire-resistant box, put your papers in that, and put that inside your safe. You've doubled
Yeah.
Oh,
your fire resistance.
that's a great idea.
Okay, also, it's easy to grab, it's easy to go. It's still secure wherever you are.
I like that.
Wonderful idea on the book,
I like that
but
idea.
if you leave that in your car, you've just given someone everything,
You do
including
not
your
want
underwear
someone to
drawer.
find that book.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so I say, that's one thought. On your water filtration, I agree with that 100%. I do something slightly different. These bottles you're talking about, you're scooping up the contaminants in the bottle and carrying the contaminants with you and only drinking the clean water. I use a life straw or equivalent with a small primer pump. I pump the dirty water from that through the filter into the bottle, and then your empty water bottles, you can now fill those. You have got 3 times the amount of fresh water with you, and you're not carrying contaminated water.
That's a great idea. Yeah, super good. Did everybody get that? That was smart. That was smart. Thank you.
Not saying that's wrong, I'm just saying, it's a
No, I
different way
think
to
that's
look
a
at it.
good way to look at it. Yeah.
Because rather than carrying contaminated water that you don't know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
you're with your children, they scoop
Yes,
up, they
yeah.
take a drink, now they're drinking contaminants.
Mm-hmm.
If only clean water goes into the containers,
Right.
you know you're only carrying clean water.
So when you do the life straw, explain how this goes. You put that, does it go from the straw into your container,
You can actually drink directly from the straw.
right?
You can kneel down and you can suck it right out of the
Source?
lake, stream, dirty
Mhm.
puddle, whatever, the Sugar House Park Pond,
Right.
and you're safe that way. Once you're done, you blow it back out to blow the stuff out. Now you're not carrying the contaminants that aren't trapped.
Mm-hmm.
With a small piece of tubing and a small, I call them bulb pump or primer pumps, you can pump that water through that and suck it up and fill containers,
Mm-hmm.
and then you back flush it and you're good to go.
So you siphon it. You
It's
create a
more-
siphon with that?
It
Yeah,
won't
once you get it
siphon,
going?
it's a hand pump, it's about,
Oh, so you just pump it?
it's about
until
that
You
long.
squeeze it, it's one of those
It-
little
it's
bulb
like a
ones.
bulb.
that-
Oh, okay.
And
Goes
you
in
just,
line.
you just squeeze
Okay.
it, and it's got 2 valves in it, and it just, it sucks it, pumps it through it.
Sucks what? What do you?
Water.
Dirty water.
So the
Yep, if you
straw's in
put
the
it on the
water,
clean- If you put it on the clean side of the life straw,
yeah,
you're sucking it through, it's sucking all the dirt
Okay.
contaminants into the filter, pumping clean water through the bulb
Okay.
pump, into a multitude of containers that are always
Great
clean.
idea, yeah,
You're
that's a
not
better way.
carrying the giardia, the dirt, the grime, the mud, the whatever with you.
I like that.
And just know that a lot of the water competitors out there saying ours works this well, if you look at the fine print, they will say, well, it was tested on tap water with chlorine and took the chlorine out. It's not being tested in the murky water. And so you could clog up a filter really fast depending on the source. So if you take dirty water and you let it sit for a while, or even overnight, it'll clarify, then you can siphon off the top clearer water, and that way you've reduced a ton of contaminants. But ceramic, even little catadine ceramic filters, to see if they'll do 10,000 gallons, even those, if they freeze, they will crack, and you cannot rely on them again. The Sawyers, you have to be careful. So just think about that. And
The
water,
temperature.
Jim Phillips, who's the founder of this whole thing, he had a class called Your 72-Hour Kit Could Kill You. And because most people buy a cheap kit, they don't know what's in it, they don't know how to use it, they don't know it's the wrong stuff, but they put it in their car and they think, should we go down that road? It looks pretty sketchy. Well, I got a kit in the back. Let's go for it, and then they get into really bad trouble, and it's too late then. But he had a kit that somebody actually made a pack for him, and he says water. That's so important. You can go weeks without food, but you've got to have water. Real quick story. When I was mobilized for a Homeland Defense mission, we had somebody try to get on the chemical weapons site that we were defending, and we were the backup battery to come in and to help in the event that somebody did. And so we're racing through the gates with full battle rattle, and we're on CNN. And luckily, I was in a truck and just had to go around and make sure all of my troops that were, my platoon was to protect the vulnerable area. His job was to stretch out his entire platoon with the commander and the first sergeant and do a police line through all the ditches and all the bushes trying to flush this person out. And just one afternoon, he had a 3-liter Camelback, 2 1-quart canteens on his tactical vest, and he went through all 3 of those twice in one afternoon. That was 11 quarts for one person and he wasn't even carrying a pack. But it was an exhausting day and it was hot. So water. Most kits, I got a couple foil patches, it's just not gonna cut it. So think about water and have plenty of ways to either carry it or plenty of ways to procure it. You can even put a Silcox key.
A
You know
what?
though? Silcox key? A Silcox key is a little plus-shaped device that has different little openings on the end that fit various faucets on the outside of businesses that they don't want to leave a handle there for people to turn it on and waste water or mess with it. So a Silcox key has a special fitting on all the 4 ends, and there's some that are even bigger than that, and you can put it on the little faucet thing and then turn it on and fill up water bottles from, say, a business or something. If you had to travel a distance and you need to get some water, there's another way you can do that.
How about if we had something on water with all the different types of filters and that and stuff? I would like one on those. Oh, we already have.
You can make more clean water than you can ever carry.
What?
You can make more clean water than you can ever carry. I mean, if you're packing 2-gallon jugs,
Right.
that's not gonna last very long.
No.
Right.
And
You're
it
gonna
weighs a
drop
lot
those
when you
gallon
can.
jugs because they're way too heavy.
Yeah.
Just,
I
I was
think
saying,
you're right.
if you're across the street, if you're down the block, okay, but if you got 5 miles to go and you're carrying an older pack
Yeah.
like that unfortunately they weren't very comfortable,
Yeah, This
and
would
carrying
be-
a bucket, it ain't going very far.
right. This is kind of the scenario that I think of is you may go to a shelter somewhere, or, that would be the most likely thing in our neighborhood. And so then you've got some water at the shelter, that type of thing. But if you're going a long distance, you gotta make your own clean water, that's sure. Okay, I think we're gonna just finish up, but I wanted to just say one thing. When we turned our water and power off for a week, just to see what worked.
Just a minute, there's too many side comments here.
Okay, so I think it's really important, we learned what worked and didn't work by having to walk the walk. We turned the water power off what oil worked, I mean, we just learned what worked, what didn't work. Did you want candles? Would you rather have oil lamps? Would you rather have, what kind of oil worked? It was the best experiment we ever did, and I would suggest you take the same thing, and you've used a lot of these things, which is super smart. But if you have the pump purifier, do it. Know how to do it, you know, and just be very familiar with all these things and make sure you know how to use them. I mean, just a funny example is when we turned our water and power off, we had this really cool thing. It was called a sun shower. You hang the bag in the sun and it gets all warm, and then you take a shower. Well, we hung it in the sun all day. This was in March, so you know, you had some good sunshine. And Craig took the most freezing shower he's ever had in his life. I said, how was your shower with the sun shower? And he just said it was so cold. And so I thought to myself, So I heated my water on the Coleman stove, and I dumped my hot water in that and had the most heavenly shower that week. So a lot of things you're thinking, oh, I got a sun shower. Oh, and I've got that, and I've got candles, and I've got all that stuff. Well, try them out. And it would even be fun, and we were saying, get a buddy and say, okay, by this certain date, let's get our books put together. And you encourage each other. Have somebody that you kind of bounce off of, or maybe even have a little camp out where you take your stuff and see what works. It will save you by knowing what works, what doesn't work, what's a waste of time, you know, that type of thing.
And of course, you get in bed early because
we're-
there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
What's that,
We're
Craig?
doing that as a family.
Say it really loud.
Where all of our kids get together once a year on a holiday and come and camp out,
Mhm.
and everybody has to make a fire with flint and steel.
That's great.
From there all the way down to the youngest, everybody has to learn to, you know, reconstitute something.
I love it.
Everybody has to learn to throw a knife, everybody has to learn to throw a hatchet, those sorts of things that Boy Scouts took for granted 100 years ago when I was one.
Mhm.
That most of the city kids have no idea how to make a fire.
That is such a good idea.
So
I love that.
as a 4th of July camp out for all of the kids and all of the grandkids,
Mhm.
everybody learns to cook, everybody learns to use a Dutch oven, everybody learns how to,
Okay,
you
that
know,
is
flint and
fantastic,
steel and
yeah.
those sorts of things.
Mhm.
Just because our grandparents were more prepared in the event of a disaster than we are, because you may not be able to look up how to do that on your iPhone. We all know
Can't
the
Google it.
government's gonna be right there taking care of you. We all know there will never, ever be anything that disrupts the flow of food. And so I said, that's what we're doing,
I love it.
just create a family
Yeah.
weekend.
We're gonna
and
do that.
Everybody learns how to use those things, and then now you have a wonderful list of Christmas gifts for everybody.
I
It's
love that.
good quality flint, steel,
good-
and good quality water filtration
Family
and
vacation, yeah,
that sort of thing.
good. I thank you so much. That's really valuable.
One last thing, I have a lot of small bills, because if you have.
A lot of what?
Small bills in
Oh,
your
money.
cash, because if you try to barter for a loaf of bread and you only have 100, it's gonna be the most expensive bread you ever.
Good.
Most of us are too poor to have big bills, so.
Yeah.
Small bills would be easy.
Yeah.
Craig had a comment.
The other thing that we learned is when the power's out, you know. So we go to bed at 8 o'clock or something and think, oh, I'm gonna be able to read. And Claudia was trying to read with an oil lamp. Couldn't decide if it was a person or a dog or what the picture was, and
It's not fun.
and then the kids could look forward to something really good, Dutch oven, whatever. And Claudia made great meals.